Hello and welcome. My name is Chase Glenn. I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance for Full Acceptance, and we are so glad that you've joined us tonight. I see that we already have a few people who have logged in to join our live stream, and I'm so excited for this conversation we have tonight. So I'm hoping even more will join. If you've joined and you'd like to start a watch party, that helps us get the word out about the program. Feel free to go now and click that little start a watch party button, and that helps it get out there into the news feeds on Facebook. So again, my name is Chase Glenn. I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance for Full Acceptance. AFFA is a social justice organization based here in Charleston, South Carolina. We work specifically around issues related to the LGBTQ community, education and advocacy, because we really know that those two things go hand in hand. When we go and work to advocate on behalf of the LGBTQ community, often there's education that has to happen to bring people along and to help broaden people's understanding. And a big piece of that is personal stories and hearing people's stories and learning from people's personal experiences. And it always can be an eye-opening and sort of an enlightening experience. And so that's part of why we have been doing this series of programs since we began our physical distancing here. I notice I didn't say social distancing because I really do believe that even though we are being distant from each other, I'm doing this in my own home. I feel like there is a potential for connection, social connection that maybe we haven't had before, we haven't taken advantage of before. So these programs are all about kind of building those connections and sharing the stories of people that are doing really amazing work here in our community already and amplifying those stories, because AFFA is one organization, Chase Glenn is one person, but there are so many amazing organizers and leaders in our community. We want to help tell their stories and give them an opportunity to share their own experiences and what they're doing. So again, that was a very long intro, but a way just to sort of build time here for us to get people to join in. Again, start a watch party if you like. I'm so excited for tonight's program. June is International Pride Month. While it might not be Pride Month specifically here in Charleston, at least this year, it obviously is a celebration around the world and an opportunity to have these conversations a little more intentionally. And so tonight I wanted to bring in Regina Duggins and Rico Udon from Charleston Black Pride. I'm going to go ahead and bring y'all on the screen right now. Let's see. There you are. You're on the screen. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much for being here. And I want um, just to, we're just going to kick things off here and get started. I mean, I'll start with just saying this. You all are trailblazers, and you're doing work here that hasn't necessarily been done in this specific capacity before, with this particular bent, specific to a Pride festival. And so I want to give an opportunity for us to hear more about that process, but to also hear about some of your personal, journeys that got you here. So Regina and I have known each other for several years now. We first did our work together on the Charleston Pride Festival board when I was there in leadership, and Gina was on the board as well. And I love Gina with my whole heart, and I'm so glad to be able to have you here tonight. Gina, I want to hand it over to you, allow you to introduce yourself a little more. Dr. Regina Duggins, am I correct? You are
You
a
are
doctor
correct. Thank
now,
you so
right? In the
much.
last year?
It- yeah, we're there. We're there. How you
Yeah,
doing? Thank you
good,
so
good.
much. I just want to say that my name is Regina Duggins, as Chase has introduced, and thank you so much. I'm the founder of Charleston Black Pride. Of course, Charleston Black Pride was started a year ago. Um, Once I transitioned off of Charleston Pride Festival board, I felt that there was a need in the community to kind of lift the voices. There was a lot of people that I felt in the LGBTQ of color community that was voiceless. And I just felt like I know there was more, but I just didn't see a lot coming out to participate. And I felt that if we started our own organization, it would kind of be more like a healing and outreach and just bringing like-minded individuals together to see what more we could do to help strengthen that specific community. And it turned out really great. A year later, I'm really pleased and I'm thankful. And I know we still have so much more work to be done, but the first year was awesome, and just a great run for meeting so many people, so many other organizations across the states. I was glad to have several opportunities. I met the actual founder of all the Black Prides, which is Earl Folks, who operates out of DC. And he's over like 30 years he's been in the business of Black Prides. So, and then to go to a conference, a convention, and was able to meet so many on the East, West Coast, those that are international Black Pride. So just was an amazing experience just within the 1 year.
That's awesome. That's thank you for that introduction of yourself. Rico, I want to give you the opportunity to do the same. Tell us a little more about you and how you came to become the vice president, right, of Charleston Black
Yeah,
Pride. All
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Tell
sure.
us more about
Thank
yourself.
you. All right, I am Rico Udon, Vice President of Charleston Black Pride. I really got this position just by sitting in, and Gina had a vision that I myself had already had, just not to that capacity, just didn't know what it was going to be, whether it was going to be a pride or just like a organization that will unify LGBTQ people of color. And so when we sat down, we just clicked right away. I've seen the work that she did in the community already. And after everybody left, we just stayed behind and we just talked and we just said, "You want yeah, let's do this." And it just went from there. So when you have that passion, that drive for change, and to actually see the representation in your community that needs to be there, then I mean, it's a no-brainer. I'm a native of Charleston, and I've been doing a lot of work with a lot of organizations, from volunteering to actually being on the boards of organizations that either I built or has already built a foundation. And everything just didn't seem right. It really didn't feed my hunger for the betterment of Black people and LGBTQ people. So it all just worked out perfect. I remember there were so many platforms and so many doors that were open for us, but they shut when they didn't want to do it anymore, when they were fed up with certain things, and so we were still left with that void of not having something of our own, something that we could actually go back to, where people that look like us, that can actually relate to us, and we can still have that solid foundation there. So Charleston Black Pride is definitely a solid foundation that has been built, and we just look forward to continuing to build, and I definitely look forward to continuing to build with Regina and other board members and community members as well.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rico. Let's just start here at the top and, get out the question that I'm just going to jump in and ask the question that might be on some people's minds. And I would like to hear it from you all in your response, because I think there's been, opportunities to answer this, and we don't always go straight to the people who need to answer the question, right? And I'll say also, if you're joining us tonight, would love for you to also offer up your questions. It doesn't just have to be what I want to ask. So feel free to put in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll be monitoring those over here on our page, and we'll offer those up as possible. So, the question that I've heard, like I said, I'm just going to be honest and put it out there, is why Black Pride? We have Charleston Pride, we have Gay Pride, we have South Carolina Pride. Why is it important to have a Black Pride? And either of you or both of you. Sorry, I just stepped on you. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Representation matters. And see, my thing is, I live here in Charleston. I mean, I'm not a native of Charleston. My family is from South Carolina, but I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I've been here 10 years. So being that representation matters, I live here, I'm here. we need something. I needed something that I can definitely relate to and be a part of. So that's where the spinoff started. That we needed some place that we can call our own. We needed a place where we can come for healing. We need a place where we can also nurture, where we can grow, where we can build, where we can also become stronger within our own community. And it doesn't exclude anyone that's non-Black, but it's something that we can call our own. And I think that that is one that's very important to have, especially when you're in a large city. Charleston is a larger city. And of course, yes, we're close with the people who are in Columbia and those that are in Charlotte. We've joined unions with people that's in Atlanta, but it's just different because there are so many people that are coming here to Charleston. Charleston, #1 tourist city, #1 for this. But my thing is, we are last when it comes to inclusive organizations that are standing. And so this was one that needed to be here as well for Charleston.
Right. Rico, you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. Again, representation matters. I've heard the cry of the people. I've seen the need. I knew that there was a need and a hunger deep within me, because our needs are different. The resources that we need are different. Regardless of we have this one thing in common, there's still that big thing that divides us. And at the end of the day, you just can't give us what we need, and we can't give you what you need. And the discrimination is there. I mean, I'm going to put it out there. The discrimination is there. We see it, we feel it, we experience it, even within the LGBTQ community. So for us to have our own, something for us, by us, makes a big difference, and it makes us feel like we are part of something that is truly for us. And we need it.
That's really powerful. Gina, were you getting ready to say something? I stepped on you there.
No, you're fine. I was agreeing with Ronrico, and that's one of the things that I'm thankful for, the leadership that I have with my board members, because we're all on the same page. We're all striving for that same goal. We're all having that hunger and that need to make sure that our representation is uplifted, and we're uplifting the other people who are also in our community. We should never feel alienated. We should never feel that we can't be true to our Blackness when we are out and in LGBTQ spaces. And we should never feel that we have to change or elude to be watered down to whom we really are. So that this platform gives us that, okay, and that yes, that we can be educated Blacks, we can be financial fit Blacks, we can be home buyers and Black, we could be Black in a social atmosphere, we can be Black and educate. It goes on and on, but it gives us that seniority. It gives us that step where we can say who we are. We are proud who we are, and sometimes in other non-white organizations, LGBTQ organizations, we didn't feel that way. And oftentimes we felt tokenized. And so when we were there, we were more like speaking for the whole entire community, and that was unfair because we only could speak for whom we are. And so it put a lot of pressure on us when we were being an attribute to an organization. And then when we couldn't really be whom we wanted to be, meaning if events couldn't be what we really wanted to see, when just certain things that highlight our Blackness was not included into certain events. So there caused a friction. It caused a separation, which says, okay, it's time for us to step out and do our own thing. And then you are more than welcome to come and see how we do our things.
Well, and so you're speaking about, I think that's, it's really a great explanation. It helps me understand, you talk about being able to breathe, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think I'm saying back what you said to me, but being your true Black self in LGBTQ spaces. Is there also another side of that, which is, let's talk about the Black community and being able to be fully LGBTQ, and to own that part of your identity within the Black community. Is there some of that as well in this conversation, or is that just separate, completely separate?
No, that's also another component. I know Rico can speak more on that as well, but Blacks and LGBTQ within the people of color community has not been always accepted. So therefore, that's another place where we feel ostracized within our community, within our family, sometimes within our church. So therefore, it's like, when do we get to be accepted and appreciated for whom we are? And Charleston Black Pride, or Black Prides, gives us that platform.
Rico,
you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm always smiling there. Forgive me. It's like this. With me, when you ask me a question, there's no way to sugarcoat it. I just have to just be real. When a Black Pride is giving you the ability to say a quote by Marcus Garvey, "I am with no apologies." So I need no acceptance from you. I look for no acceptance from you, no matter who it is, even if it's within the Black community. The platform that Charleston Black Pride has built and has just put a big footprint in this city is saying, hey, I'm a part of something that allows me to be who I am and be that unapologetic. So it's an individual thing if you're looking for acceptance, but we telling you that, hey, come along with us. Join us in this movement, and you don't have to worry about the what ifs, or am I good enough, or am I Black enough, or am I queer enough, am I trans enough, am I gay enough, is me being bisexual going to be okay to fit into this realm right here? So it's just giving you the ability to just simply be who you are, no matter how you identify, no matter if you don't identify at all. If you just want to be, a part of what we have going on, there's plenty of people that say, hey, I just want to be here to support. I love what you guys are doing.
Yes.
So it's just a great thing to just be able to just say, you know what, I don't need your acceptance,
right. But you will respect us.
You will respect us. Yes, indeed.
That's good. Thank you for that. So when we're talking about, let's back up a little bit. Regina, you're the founder, and yes. Can you share with us a little more about your journey? From how you got to Charleston, what led to you feeling like you were wanting to start this organization. Has this been in your mind for the last 10 years, or is this something that kind of came up more recently? Can you talk us through sort of your personal journey?
Sure. Okay. As I told you before, I was born in Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York. I was about 25 years old when I actually let people in to whom I chose to continue this next journey of my life. There were a lot of other instances that made me decide and battle back and forth with what I really wanted to do. So I made a transition to move here 10 years ago. So while I was in New York, I had two family members who are deceased now, but they lived a very closeted life. And because of neighborhood, family, friends, just different times, and they couldn't be themselves. And I told them when they were alive and I was going through becoming me, and I was telling them that I was not going to live my life like that. And so when I actually came to Charleston, I was still in search of how I wanted to go about things and what I wanted to do and how I was going to utilize my voice and just be comfortable in my skin, walk in my truths. So as time came by, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of places for me to go for entertainment purposes as of New York. Not saying that there's a plethora here, but I mean, I just didn't know where the scenes were. So I started going to certain clubs, and then I noticed that there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me. And I was wondering, like, what's going on? I know that there is people of LGBTQ or of color or just in general, and I wasn't seeing their faces. I wasn't seeing them. And so as I started to link up with other people through the poetry scene, is when I got in contact with some LGBTQ of color people, and they started letting me know about Charleston Pride. And they were talking about the preparing for their Pride Parade, and I was just like, okay, so let's find out what's going on. And I know there was some issues that we were bringing to the table at the time. And speaking of about policing and police brutality, and or just bringing policing into events, and it was a little, it was some friction about it from the Blacks, LGBTQ individuals. So I went to the meeting, and this is where I met you, Chase. And while I was there, I was just like looking around the room. The people for the representation was mostly those that came with the group with me. And I was just like, well, how can I be a part so that my voice can start to be out there and uplift people of color that are LGBTQ? And you send me an application right there across the table. And the next day or two, I believe I turned it back in. I was interviewed, and then I was brought on to the Charleston Pride Board, and then later on became the secretary. And with your leadership leaving, there were some changes, and there was also some changes and growth within me that I saw that we were not reaching whom I thought with just myself being on the board, and a couple of other board members of color started to join. And that's when I felt that I had to relinquish my position and decide to start Charleston Black Pride, so that we can have the representation, so that we can have the events, so that we can have the outreach, and so that we can start building up the community and the network that was needed, that I felt that was not being offered here in Charleston.
And so tell us a little bit about some of the first things that the organization did. Like, how did you all get sort of off the ground? When did Rico come into the mix? That sort of thing.
Okay, so what I had first was a brunch, and we met, and it was like good about 10 people or so came, and we sat and talked, just about just how their life was. It was very broad. It was just, how you doing and everything. What were you doing in the community? Who was here? We found out, Pastor Aaron, Black, there's a LGBTQ of color pastor here, so I was just amazed by that. There was some more people here that were just been in fruition, been doing things, but it's just that it wasn't amplified. And so just having that discussion, then, like as Rico said, they left, and then him and I just stayed behind talking. And I was just like, Rico, I've already have the article in incorporation, and I said I'm ready to start Charleston Black Pride, but of course I need board members, And so through our conversations, I mean, Rico is a mastermind, incredible person, and he, he was it was a little bit arm twisting, because he was almost through. He was through. He was just like, I'm just going to live run Rico's life, and he said, I'll support, I will come out. He was just, that's how he was. But I was like, Rico, there's a fire in you, Rico. I said, Rico, you have an incredible mind. And I think it's just something about you and I connecting. And I said, Rico, please. I said, even if you give me 6 months, something. I said, but let's just see what we can do. And we became very passionate, and we started just coming up with ideas, we came up with the logo, and just everything. And we just was able to have conversations, and him and I, no matter what, we have respect for each other, and we was able to say, what, let's just try it. And we did. And so one of our larger events was collaborating with Charleston Pride for their anniversary. And so we had a weekend of events. And I mean, the turnout from the welcome party to moving on to drag show to a breakfast brunch. I mean, it just was great that whole weekend. and the numbers was showing us that the need was there, which grew to other events. But we always wanted to make sure we had an educational component. So we started like the reaching out and finding people. So I found someone, and we did a home buyers. We started wanting to do community outreach. So we moved on to doing Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, you know. And so as the holidays was coming, but our biggest moment, I believe, was when we started doing our Black Pride events. And I mean, we just had a whole random of giving back to Black organizations, restaurant, you know, poetry, just infusing all of our culture as much as we possibly could, without overwhelming ourselves, because we just really wanted to let Charleston know we were here and we were staying. And then I was able to get invited to a couple of trips, you know, to find out some more information and how other Black prides and leaders, because I wanted to just feel a sense of how others that's been doing it for 4 and 5 or 10, 20 years. So I was glad of those opportunities. I had 2 trips. I was you know, grateful to also be the Grand Marshal for South Carolina. You know, their pride. I mean, it was just a lot of great opportunities. I was also thankful to, you know, after you guys, we went to Create and Change, and then we were able to go to workshops, because I'm the type of person, I want to be educated. I don't know it all, but I know that we needed it, but I didn't know everything and all the aspects and how to break it down. So going to those trainings, I saw what needed to be done at Create and Change. I mean, I'm going to be honest. There's still a lot of lacking of Black leadership in a lot of the workshops. And those that were there, it was very, very educational, but it was just very few. And it all goes back to, I guess, recruitment, how they do their advertisement, you know, and everything like that, that I feel that probably would have attracted more people. But I was just thankful to be in this space. You know, I'm that type of person that I'm there for education purposes and how can I apply it back into our community. So I was grateful to be there. And then, I mean, there was just valuable information. So then Charleston Pride, like I said, it just kept on going. What hit us hard was, of course, COVID-19, because we were going to have our 1-year anniversary, which has been postponed to October. But you know, and we were planning our 1 year, which would have been the second week in June, and having just a lot of events where we're coming together, working on building that family. Everything we say is on a family kind of spectrum. We don't feel like we're an organization per se, because we want to help our family members survive and thrive and make it, whether it's spiritually or physically or mentally, socially, however we possibly, financially, to make them financially, economically fit. This is what Charleston Black Pride or Black Prides want to bring to people. It's a totally different kind of organization, and it's not just a quote unquote partying organization.
Yes.
We really want to see those that are LGBTQ of color make it after, or be able to have somewhere they can come back home to and say, you know what, I found a linkage from this. Thanks for helping us as a resource, a valuable resource to the community.
That, you know, what you just said about family, that it's huge, because, you know, I think, you know, there's within the broader LGBTQ community, we talk about family, you know, oh, they're family.
Yeah.
But that's been lost. What that really means, I think, has been lost on a lot of people through the years. Maybe it's because they don't feel like they need that kind of support anymore, to have their chosen family, and that sort of connection. But so what you just said about family, I think that's huge. Rico, you want to speak to that at all, about that sort of the connection, like you said, the linkage that people can, once they connect, having a space and folks to connect to and find that support?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody ever pays attention to some of the social media posts will always have the word family in it with a P instead of an F, PH, and it's a way how we spell family in a way that it would relate to LGBTQ people. So to let people know that, you know, I consider you family. You know, it means a lot, because there's so many people that don't have family. They don't have a family to go home to on the weekends to enjoy a family meal, holidays, homeless. You know, they're there's a lot of issues that come along with being out and open and being your true authentic self. I remember back when I was a teenager going out partying, and there was this club right next door to our business. It was called the Escapade Lounge. And BJ and Troy Ori, I don't know if anybody knows, they're like pioneers within the Black LGBT community, because they actually opened the doors for the kids to have a place to party, to have a safe space to do poetry night. The first spot I actually ever recited my own poetry to, they had something different every night, and it was a space that was for us, by us. Haven't had anything like that since, and it meant so much to me in the community. And when my nephew passed away about 6 years ago from HIV, AIDS, it lit a fire in me to say, you know what? I have to start getting back into educating myself, not only on the disease, so that I can educate other people in my family member, but to keep his legacy alive, to actually do this work through him. So that's why I started getting more and more involved in the lack of the connections aren't there anymore, because we can look at each other, know that we're family, and we'll still pass each other by, won't even speak, give a head nod, nothing. And there's such a big disconnect, and Charleston Black Pride is definitely doing so much to reconnect, because we need that, whether it's through social media, through events. The last home buyers program that we had, faces I've never seen before, and a few faces I haven't seen in years. People just were excited to be able to sit down and get those free resources that would not normally be offered to them for same gender loving couples, to just freely say, well, hey, this is my wife or my soon to be husband. And, we want to know what are our options as far as buying. And, so it's just so much that that I see, and still that we're trying to do and trying to connect the dots. And we can't do it all, but we're starting by at least starting somewhere. And the more people see that we're trying to fulfill those needs, the more people that are coming along and wanting to lend a hand and said, hey, I have an idea, or I have this program, or I have this organization. How do you feel about us partnering and actually doing something like AFFA? I mean, you guys do a phenomenal job of trying to bridge gaps, that maybe if Charleston Black Pride didn't exist, that it would be a little bit harder to bridge those gaps. But since we're here and you're here, actually having that to meet in the middle, because there's things that you guys will not be able to reach us on that we can do, and vice versa. So the fact that we're all here trying to lend a hand and wanting to work together to create that change is just so important, and it's so it's very powerful.
I thank you for saying that. That's what I really feel like a big piece of what AFFA can offer here is helping make those connections. And, I always say, I don't need to recreate the wheel. I don't need to do something that someone else is doing and they're doing it much better. And you all are doing incredible work. And that's part of what I want to do here tonight, which is, help connect people with what you are doing and who you all are. Also, big shout out there to locally queer owned businesses creating safe spaces for queer folks. That is amazing, that story. And there are other places like that have closed in the past, that have left gaps in the community. And so thank you for that shout out. That was really powerful. I want to touch on this before we really move on. I can't ignore the fact that last year we had a trans woman, a Black trans woman, who was murdered right here in North Charleston. Rico, I know you were close to Denali Berry Stuckey, and I want to give you a moment to be able to remember her, and maybe speak. I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot, but speak to I guess that moment, and the community coming together in that moment, but then also, we have moments like that, and then what, right? It's like, what is what's next? Why does it? What do we have to keep coming together and having vigils? What are we really doing to create the change that needs to happen to protect our trans sisters and others in the community? Can you speak at all to that sort of experience and kind of
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, I'll go back a little bit briefly. How I met Denali was through her mother, who open lesbian, and everybody knew who she was. So to the younger ones, they were like, role models and entrepreneur, always doing something. And I met Denali through my nephew that passed away that I spoke about. And then I found out that after we became friends that we were actually cousins. So that's why so many people would see my name when she passed away, when that tragedy happened, because her mother wanted me to speak on her behalf because she just didn't have the strength to do so. And she respectfully asked me to speak on the family's behalf if any of the other close friends of hers didn't feel like they were up to doing so. That loss was very tragic, hurtful, and it really hurt the community. It hurt the family. And it goes back to what we're doing on the 24th to launch our support group. It's Light, LYTE, living your truth every day, because like I said earlier, not everybody is able to live their truth every day. Some people can only live it at home in a queer space. They can't live it at work. They have to put it in a bag until they leave work, around family or whatever. So to be able to have that outlet to just speak up and talk about how you feel and how you're doing mentally, not only physically. Transgender people, there's a part of their lives that a lot of people don't understand or will never understand, even if you ask questions. And the safety is at risk to a high degree, and it has to be acknowledged that we have to do our part in not only trans people but LGBTQ people, period, to just be aware of your surroundings, be aware of where you're at, who you're around, and how important it is to have a buddy, have a buddy system if possible, because it is really real out here. The hate is not going anywhere, unfortunately, and that's just being real. And we just have to acknowledge the fact that we just have to be extra careful, just because people will hate you simply because you're just you. And we just have to talk about what's uncomfortable. We have to get uncomfortable. We have to talk about what's hurting us. We have to talk about the neglect within our homes, within our families, within our communities, in order to get to a point where we can heal. So if just a little support group once a month for an hour, hour and a half, even if you have to message somebody outside of that, just to be able to have an outlet is so important. So we have to get back to being role models, being a support system to one another, because it's so needed.
That's that's great. Gina, I didn't want. Were you getting ready to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say also, we have to get legislation on board. Okay. That's the biggest problem
Yes.
here in South Carolina. There is no hate crime bill. And I mean, there are five, I feel that that's out there, but it has not been passed. And my thing is this: we can do all that we can at Charleston Black Pride. We can do all we can as a pride organization. We can do all we can. But AFFA, and legislations, I know y'all are doing all y'all can on your front, but until we get a legislation that protects us, we are still at risk. I mean, my thing is this: I would never want to hear about another death happening in the city of Charleston or North Charleston or just in this vicinity of South Carolina, because it's a tragedy, because our lives are not valued that much to say that we have a law that's going to protect us, that's going to have us covered fully if something happens. And if we do die, the justice will not be served. So therefore now, so what? We don't value, we don't matter. And I have a big problem about that. And I know that until that is passed, there will be no justice for the LGBTQ of color community. You know, we've heard apologies, we've heard so many families, but when you see a family actually cry because their loved ones are murdered because of a tragedy, and there's no justice really for them, but to say, yes, we found the killer, we're going to put the person in jail, but the time that's due to that person they won't really get because there's no law enforced, is a problem. Okay, so when they say no justice, no peace, there is no peace unless there's justice. So that's my issue, you know, and I stand firm on why we don't have a hate crime bill done for, and I'm saying specifically with LGBTQ people. You know, I know there needs to be a hate crime bill across the board for people in general, but I know that there is a lot of bullying. There are, we've had murder. One murder is enough. One murder is enough. And we've had, even with the Charleston 9, Emmanuel 9, I mean, there's so many that is going on. But my thing is, one murder, one death should be enough to say that we have a law in place. Even someone that's just being racially attacked, that should be enough. And I don't know when South Carolina is going to realize that people need to be valued. Just human beings need to be valued. Even if you want to, I mean, and they have a problem with adding in the sexual orientation and gender. But my thing is, that is a part of it all. Hate is hate. And we need to, I don't know what else we have to do. I don't know what else, whose minds or what empathy or stories do we have to tell them to make it real, that it need and it should have been passed. But I stand strong on my conviction that it needs and it's overdue. And I don't know what else we can do. But that's one of the things that I know. And until we get that passed, we don't feel safe in this city.
100%. And you know, you say what needs to happen. Of course, I don't have the answer because if I did, we would have it by now. But it's absolutely going to take a coalition effort, right? Because you hit the nail on the head. It's about LGBTQ folks. Of course, we're talking about the LGBTQ community right now, but it is about race. It's about religion. It's about ability, and it's going to require that coalition of organizations who are social justice minded people who say this is not right, and we're going to all get behind one bill, and that bill is going to be the bill that we're going to get pushed through, and it's going to require that sort of effort. And so I'm putting that energy out there right now that I need our legislators to come together and create one bill that is inclusive of all the things that we need to include, including sexual orientation and gender identity, and then we can all get behind them. But this whole having one bill that says this and the other bill says this and one organization supports this and the other organization supports that, that's not going to get us anywhere. So we need our legislators, who are all supposedly on the same side, right? All trying to get the same thing done. We need them all to get together on the same page, and then we're going to come behind you and bring all of our weight to help make it happen. I'm right there with you, and I'm frustrated that we haven't been able to get there. And
I want to add something really quick. Didn't mean to cut you off, but statistics show that the average trans woman of color does not live past the age of 35.
Right. And that's alarming. Okay, that's why I said you have to value a human being in order to want to make sure that laws are passed. You have to value the human, because the law is to protect the human being. So if you do not value human beings, so I see where the prologue, the setback is. But my thing is, put love and value back on the people. And I'm telling you, it will change the mindsets of someone who's going to think that they're going to be able to push a crime on someone else just because they're gay, just because they're a lesbian, just because they're black, just because they may be disabled. And it just goes on. This and like I said, we can say as much as we possibly can say. We can, But until we have the law in place, it almost means nothing. It means nothing. And like I said, I'm thankful for those that the city of Charleston for an ordinance, but what's an ordinance if you don't have a law in place? Okay. That's like getting, I'm sorry to say, I'm glad you got a GED, but the high school diploma weighs more. Let's be for real here. Okay. So this is how I'm seeing it. We have to start pushing for what we really need, the actual change. I mean, because everything else we're doing is building selves up. But once we've built everyone up to where they need to be, how, as a leader, how am I protecting my people? And I feel that I'm failing them. Okay. And it's nothing more that I can possibly do but to say, okay, hopefully this year is going to be passed. Or hopefully, they definitely going to we're getting real close. No, we need to stop with it. It's getting close. We need to have it signed and stamped and sealed and say that it's done. Just like we got for the protection that we already knew about job protection. We need to have that in the hate crime. Because my thing is, it's stopping people from living safely in their homes. This is not just like it's hitting you in one area. It's in your homes. It's in your everyday life. You walking down the street. You could be in a pool. You could be in a park. And if someone decides to hate on you because you are with your gender-loving person, it can be a totally different situation. Now what? And what justice do we give to the person who is deceased and to the family and friends? Because everyone is attached to that one person. So
you're speaking truth, and so this is amazing. And I think what really struck me in this moment when I'm thinking about this is, yeah, we would hope that people, and I don't want to make it a partisan issue because there are people on both sides of the aisle that will go on either side. But, of course, we know that uphill battle that we're going to face from a certain side of the aisle that's going to say, you know what, we don't want to pass that law. But what I'm thinking about is the people that should be with us who are dragging their feet, right? And so we really need the people that are our allies, are supposedly our allies, to really step up and like I said, get us that one bill that's got everything we need, and we can all get behind it. I've had wonderful conversations with Charleston Jewish Federation. They are on board. They're really invested in getting some hate crime legislation, but we got to get something to get behind. And so what I'm hearing you say, that really speaks to me, and I feel energized by that. And I think it also sort of is a segue here to this other, the broader conversation here of discrimination and beyond just LGBTQ folks, but in this moment that we're in right now. Right. Which I can't deny. We talk about Black Lives Matter. Someone actually put Black Lives Matter in the comments, and of course, Black Lives Matter. And we know the organization, the formal organization of Black Lives Matter, that is not just local, but the national, international, I guess now, because I think they have chapters in Canada and probably other countries. But it was founded by queer people.
Yeah.
And it had an inclusive vision. But from what I hear from people, though, is not always LGBTQ folks don't always feel they have a space there in that movement. And maybe it's not official, chapters or whatever that are being a little less inclusive. But can you speak to, you don't necessarily have to speak to that politics or the, whatever on that, but I am interested in hearing, as Black LGBTQ people in this moment, where is your place personally in this movement, but then also Charleston Black Pride? Where is the intersection? How does that play in and with each other? Is there, where are things for you all?
Well, okay, I can speak on certain things, and this is just my personal opinion, okay? I'm not speaking for the whole group of Black LGBTQ or Blacks, okay? And I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. But my thing is this, Blacks, in order for us to get justice, Black people have to stand together. Okay, you have to stand with us and not against us. Okay, I understand you may not agree about the LGBTQ community. Fine, but we will never get justice. It's not fine, but I get you. I'll let you have your part. Okay, but in order for us to get justice, for Black lives, all Black lives to matter, we have to move away from what you do not like about a person that you're not going to support and back. Okay, that's just like saying I'm Black and I eat spinach. You don't eat spinach, you eat green. I ain't for it. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for no separatism in a movement. It's not a moment, it's a movement. And in order for us, like I said, once again, in order for us to get justice, we all have to stand up together, linking our brothers and sisters and seeing us for who we are. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if we're talking about police brutality, because that's how we actually got on this issue and this whole uproar, protest, and riots because of what happened to George Floyd. That's the topic of discussion. Now, that means if I am Black, which I am, driving along the highway and they decide to pull me over, cop, and they decide to say, well, this is how I'm going to deal with you today, right? Not saying all cops are bad, but if this is bad one decides to pull up behind me, guess what they're going to see first? They're going to see the Black woman, okay? And then they will see when I start to disclose or they find I am a LGBTQ of color woman. So my thing is, we should not be worrying about separating. But if we do show up with our pride flag, we should not be ostracized because that is who we come. Because when I stand before you, I am three people. I am Black, I'm a woman, and I'm a lesbian. So I'm coming in three folds. And I'm going to put my spirituality, and the list can go on. So we don't shun one and accept another, because we don't stand by whatever standards. And that's why I said it's important to know all Black lives have to matter to all people, especially Black lives, especially Black lives. And that's one thing that I think that we are definitely having a problem with. And we cannot step away from who headed up what organization. Because I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it straight. We've been hijacked before. Okay? LGBTQ organizations started from trans people of color. Okay? Black and Latino. And it turned to a hijacking situation because it mostly went full throttle when non-Blacks started to have organizations, and it became all about them, and the Black LGBTQ was pushed aside once again. And here now we're out here on this front, because I've been out there protesting here in Charleston, and I'm hearing all of this about we don't want, or LGBTQ of color people present. I'm sorry. I stand with my Black brothers and sisters, because at the end of the day, my family members, and first of all, I am Black. That's one. But my Black brothers and sisters who are just Black without LGBTQ attached, I stand up for them as well. And I'm not going to go somewhere and sit there and be ostracized because I'm standing on this movement, because I have a right, because I'm Black. It's like you're not Black enough for the LGBTQ. You're not Black enough for the Black. And I'm sick of it. Okay? My thing is, we should be learning how to, one, respect each other for our differences, okay? And we should be respecting each other because of our humanity. And it's a disgrace for a Black male to be killed anywhere, despite their criminal background, despite what they've done. Death should not be the ending result. And therefore, we should be unifying as a Black unit.
I was just going to let you keep preaching.
That's the only thing. It gets passionate with me because I love my brothers and sisters and my white allies. You understand? But when it's talking about Black Lives Matter, all Black lives matter to me. Whether you in a wheelchair, whether you in the prison system, whether you are non-reading, illiterate, whatever they want to call, from the richest to the poorest. I love them all. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. You Black, I love you. You of color, I love you. First, because that's our connection. That's the only root that I know that we got in comparison, that I know that I can love and hold on to you for. Don't ostracize us.
Well, that's thank you for sharing that and sharing your story and sharing what Charleston Black Pride is about, the roots of the organization. We're getting close on time here, and I want to say, something that's really struck me in this conversation is, sometimes pride in general gets sort of this reputation of being just about a party, right? Just a social thing. But what I'm hearing from you is Charleston Black Pride is not just a social thing. You have your roots in, sure, you had a brunch, but you're offering up programming that is really about educating, about connecting people, not just in a party sort of sense. And then also you're talking about a support group, and I want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about how people can get connected with you, how they can, tell us some details around that support group that you're starting, and if people want to be able to be a part of that, how they can find you. I want you to you have a couple of minutes here you can use to wrap up your time.
Sure. Well, again, a support group, the name of the support group is called Light, Lyte, Living Your Truth Every Day. You can definitely reach out to us through any of our social media platforms, Twitter, our fan page, Charleston Black Pride. We have an actual Facebook page that's Little Country Black Pride, and on Instagram, which is Charleston Black Pride. Any of the board members, we always tag one another. So definitely be able to reach out to one of us. We have a flyer that's been put out right now, and it has information where you can reach out to a phone number to have the access code text to you if you identify as trans and Black, and then you'll be given the access code just for security purposes, not to have just everybody coming on the call. It's a conference call. It's not through Zoom or Skype. It's allowing people to, be private and not be seen if they choose not to be, if they're not out yet. And we'll have a little bit of everybody from all over the U.S. that's going to be on this call, sharing stories, experiences, what it's like to be Black and trans in America today. And I'm excited to be a part of it and to be able to listen and to hear from so many different people from all across the United States. So again, it's Light, Lyte, Living Your Truth Every Day, and you'll see the flyer kind of floating around for the next couple of days until every month it'll be a different topic. It can be from same gender loving parenting, the youth, you name it, finances. We're going to try to touch on everything that's hitting our communities.
Thank you, Rico. I just also want to add that November 3rd, please vote like your life depends on it. And if you are LGBTQ, I don't care if you're Black, Chinese, Hispanic, your LGBTQ representation, please make sure you are definitely at the polls. You are definitely casting your vote. November 3rd is that serious. If you want to breathe on November the 4th, November the 3rd is monumental to you. Because I'm telling you right now, our occupant is not looking out for our best interest. I don't care what political platform you stand on. November 3rd, let's make a change.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, I can't agree with that anymore. That's a good note to go out on. Y'all didn't say this, but I will say it for you. CharlestonBlackPride.org is your website. You can donate to the organization through that website. Go and contribute. This is an amazing organization that, like I said in the very beginning, y'all are trailblazers, and you are building something that I personally believe in and hope will just continue to grow and strengthen. And nonprofits, organizations which AFFA has the well, I just lost my words. The opportunity and we get to be able to be a fiscal sponsor to your organization, and we believe in what you're doing, and I personally believe in what you're doing, and I'm excited to see what's ahead. But organizations need support, so please consider making a donation to them. So they can continue this important work and do the really great things that they've shared with us tonight. Regina, Rico, thank you all so
Thank
much.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for being here and joining us. I'm going to just flip back over here really quick to just me. Thank you all. Thank everyone else for joining us here tonight as well. And for joining us on these in these conversations. We're just going to keep doing them. This Wednesday at noon, we have the folks from Charleston Pride coming to join us, and they're going to share some of their past. We have Lynn Dugan, who's the founder of Charleston Pride 10 years ago, is going to share some of her story. Also a New Yorker. Wow, there's a lot of New Yorkers coming down here and doing really amazing things. So that is Wednesday at noon. I hope folks will join us for that. I mentioned donating to Charleston Black Pride, and of course, the Alliance for Full Acceptance. Also, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, social justice organization that wants to be able to continue this work, and we require the support of people like you who are watching here tonight. And so, if you are able and willing to make a contribution, no matter how small, we are grateful for that support, and we rely on that support to be able to do our work. So are grateful for anyone who's willing to make a gift tonight or whenever. Thank you again to our guests for joining us. Thank you to everyone else who has been able to view tonight, and we hope to see you again very soon. Please take care, wear your mask, be safe, and take care of yourself.